So here's the story from God's Word. Now the Philistines went out to battle against Israel, and Israel went out to meet that challenge, and they met at a valley. And on one side encamped the Philistines, and then there was the valley, and then on the other side the Israelites were encamped over there as well. And while they were encamped, there was a champion by the name of Goliath, and he was almost 10 feet tall. He was a huge soldier. His armor that he had over his body weighed 150 pounds, just for the armor part, not even the helmet or his sword or his spear, which was huge as well. He went out to challenge the Israelites to a battle, 1v1. He said, if you are able to defeat me, then all of the Philistines will become your servants. But if we defeat you, you shall become our servants. And after laying out this challenge, King Saul and all of Israel heard it, and they were all afraid and dismayed. Now, David was going back and forth between Saul and taking care of the sheep back in Bethlehem. And one day his dad said, go and see how things are going out on the battlefield, since my oldest 3 sons are working for Saul and they're working in the army. So here's some cheeses to give to their commanders, and bring some lunch for my sons. Bring me word back about what's going on. And so David went with all of those things and left the sheep with somebody to watch them. And when he got to the battle lines, he left all of the stuff with the keeper of the baggage, and he went. By the time he got to the lines, Goliath was coming out to lay his challenge. Now this challenge had been going on for 40 days. He had been going out and challenging anybody to a duel for 40 days. And finally he comes out there, and David hears this challenge again, and he hears this and he goes, what's going to happen to the person who takes this guy out? What's the king going to do for him? And they said, well, Saul's going to give him his daughter in marriage, and is going to exempt his whole family from taxes. Why? So he just kept asking these questions, and finally David's older brother hears this, and he says, what are you talking about, David? Who's watching those sheep? Why are you here? I know it's just you've got evil in your heart. It's with evil intent you came out here to see what's going on. David says, I'm just asking a question. So he continues to ask the question, what's going to happen to the guy who kills this giant? And they continued to tell. And word of this got back to Saul, and Saul asked David to come. David was called to go and to meet with Saul. And Saul brought David into his presence, and David said, I'll go, and I will fight this giant. He has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord will surely deliver him into my hands. And Saul looked at him and said, you are just a youth. He has been a fighting man since he was young. And now he's an experienced soldier, and you're going to go up against him? I don't think so. And David said, your servant has been a shepherd, and I've been watching the sheep, and whenever a bear or a lion has come and taken one of my sheep, I've gone after it, and I've struck it, and taken back that sheep. But if it turned on me, I would grab it by the beard, and I would strike it down dead. The Lord who has delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from this uncircumcised Philistine. So Saul agreed, and he dressed him in his armor. And David put it on, and he tried walking around, and he said, I've not tested this armor. And so he took it off. And he left Saul's presence, and on his way to go to the battle lines, he grabbed 5 smooth stones from the stream. After getting those 5 smooth stones, he went out to go confront Goliath. And he went out there, and Goliath saw him coming, and he said, "Oh!" He laughed. He thought this was a joke. "You come against me with dogs? I mean, they're small. Why? Today, I will give your flesh to the birds, and they're going to eat your carcass. Come on." And David shouted back, saying, "You have defied the armies of the living God. The Lord will deliver you into my hands, for the battle is the Lord's. And the birds of the air will eat your carcass today." And David put a stone in the sling, and he ran forward to go meet Goliath. And he flipped that swing and threw the stone, and it hit him right in the forehead and sunk in deep. And Goliath fell over dead. And David rushed over to him, and because he didn't have a sword, he grabbed Goliath's huge sword and he cut off Goliath's head. And all the Israelites were ecstatic, and they ran forward and they defeated the Philistines all the way back through their cities. And thus the Lord won a great victory through David that day. And as they were on their way back, celebrating this victory, King Saul pointed out David in the crowd and said, Whose son is that man?" He said, "Well, it's Jesse's son, David." And from that time on, David entered into military service with King Saul. And that's the story from God's Word.